Hi, welcome to the Silver Disobedience Perception Dynamics podcast. Today I want to talk about high maintenance and low maintenance people. Because on social media, which is the home of branding pop psychology phrases as facts, though they're not necessarily facts, the terms high maintenance and low maintenance get a lot of attention. The term high maintenance typically refers to a person who requires a significant amount of attention. Effort has to be put out by others or resources to meet their needs or to satisfy their expectations. High maintenance is a term often used to describe someone who has specific or demanding requirements within their personal and or maybe their work relationships. And these kind of people may seek a lot of support, validation, or assistance from others. While in contrast, being considered a low-maintenance person is often portrayed as a positive trait. But is it possible for someone to be too low maintenance in certain contexts? This is what we're going to explore today. So let's break it down. Let's start with low-maintenance people, or low-maintenance traits more specifically. Here are a few examples of how someone who might be perceived as too low maintenance might be characterized. Number one, being too low maintenance can sometimes mean neglecting one's own needs or your well-being. So this could involve failing to prioritize your own personal self-care activities like getting proper rest, eating well, exercise, seeking emotional support when you need it. So it's essential to strike a balance between being easygoing and taking care of oneself. A second trait might be if someone is excessively low maintenance, they may struggle to communicate their needs or preferences to others. Maybe they refrain from asking for help or support or resources, even when they genuinely require them. So this can lead to bottling up of emotions or feeling very isolated. The next one would be being overly accommodating. This can be a definite low maintenance trait. Excessive, at times when we're excessively putting people's needs before our own to the point of self-neglect is a definite sign. This may involve consistently deferring to others' decisions, never voicing personal opinions, or constantly just saying, oh, their comfort's so much more important than mine, at the expense of your own well-being. 4 would be being too low maintenance might mean or result in suppressing conflicts or disagreement. So this can lead to resentment that really builds up over time and a lack of a healthy assertiveness in learning to express boundaries or concerns about the particular relationship. So it's really important to find a balance in addressing conflicts constructively. Another one could be while being low maintenance often implies self-sufficiency, which is a good thing, being excessively low maintenance might lead to relying heavily on others for decision-making or problem-solving or taking responsibility. So this can create a real imbalance in the relationship and an internal conflict as it hinders personal growth and autonomy. 6th would be being too low maintenance can sometimes mean not setting or enforcing personal boundaries. So this can result in tolerating mistreatment, excessive demands, or compromising personal values. Healthy boundaries in any relationship are crucial for maintaining self-respect and building healthy relationships. Now, let's look at the flip side of some of the common characteristics associated with being perceived as high maintenance. Here goes. People who are considered to be high maintenance, well, they often have high standards and expectations for themselves and also others. They may expect a certain level of quality, attention, or care in various aspects of their lives, such as in their relationships, or their appearance, or the experiences they have. A second one would be high maintenance individuals may require frequent reassurances, validations, or compliments to feel secure or confident. They might be seeking constant attention or affirmation from others. And, this may, in the process, they may become anxious or upset if they don't receive it. 3, people who are seen as high maintenance may pay close attention to details and have a really strong preference for things to be done exactly a certain way. They may have very specific preferences or rituals that they expect others to accommodate or adhere to. 4, high maintenance individuals may be highly sensitive to criticism, perceive slights, or changes in their environment. They may react strongly to perceived disrespect or negligence and may require others to handle them with care. 5 could be that some people who are considered to be high maintenance, they may engage in activities or practices that require significant time, effort, or resources. This could include, let's say, elaborate grooming routines or very strict dietary requirements or demanding exercise regimens. So now here's the fact. Classifying people as either high maintenance or low maintenance is duality thinking. When we label and try to compartmentalize others or even ourselves in an effort to simplify how we understand things we don't comprehend, and people we're trying to cope with better, it just doesn't work because nobody is all high maintenance or low maintenance. We're each a blend of both. And now we may weigh heavier on one side to the other, but the fact is we're all a bit of both depending on what's happening. So whether we're high maintenance or low maintenance, there are ways that you can learn to communicate your needs, which is really what this is all about. Everything in life is about getting our needs filled. So whether we're high maintenance or low maintenance, all that behavior, it's only about getting our needs filled and feeling loved and appreciated. So here are some steps you can take to process and change your behavior. 1, self-reflection. Take time to reflect on your own behavior and the impact it might be having on others. Consider the reasons why you might be perceived as high maintenance or low maintenance, or what characteristics you're relating to, and the specific behaviors or expectations that are contributing to that perception by yourself or others. 2, identify your priorities. Evaluate your priorities and determine what really truly matters to you. Identify the areas where you're willing to be flexible and less demanding, and focus on what is truly important rather than sweating the small stuff, or conversely, letting the big stuff slide that you really think should be addressed. 3rd thing you can do, communicate clearly. Whether you think you're high maintenance or low maintenance, it makes no difference. It still makes a difference if you do choose to practice skills that improve your communication. So you need to test the water and express your needs, and also express what you expect in clear and reasonable ways. Practice effective and assertive communication. The more you do it, the more you get used to expressing your desires and your concerns, the easier it gets. And you want to do this while being respectful of others' boundaries and needs because they have them too. 4, cultivate a more flexible and adaptable mindset. You want to try to be open to different ways of doing things and willing to compromise when that is appropriate. And remember, a compromise, everybody leaves a little skin on the table. And recognize that everything does not have to be perfect or exactly as you envisioned it. You want to be willing to go with the flow. Yet if you think you're a bit too flexible, pipe up. Speak up. Practice sharing your perspectives because likely they add value. Number 5, whether you tend towards a high or low maintenance personality, the underlying factor with both, as I said before, is a desire to get your needs filled. We all want to be loved, liked, and appreciated. So a big foundation comes from developing our sense of self-sufficiency. The more we work on becoming self-sufficient and independent, taking responsibility for meeting our own needs as much as possible, the stronger we become. 6 would be cultivating a mindset of gratitude and appreciation for the efforts of others. See, appreciating what others do can be a very helpful practice for both high and low maintenance personalities. Acknowledge and express gratitude for the things that people do for you, even if they don't meet your high expectations. And offer to help others as well in the ways that you can. This creates a more positive and also a more harmonious environment in whatever situation you're in. 7 would be flexibility in relationships is always a trait worth cultivating. Rigid things break or they're hard and cold. So you want to be open to different perspectives and different ways of doing things in your relationships. Try to avoid rigid expectations of yourself and others and be willing to compromise and accommodate the needs and preferences of others while respecting your own. This involves embracing the idea of give and take to encourage healthier dynamics. 8, we all need to learn how to manage our emotions effectively. Developing emotional intelligence and regulation skills to manage your emotions in a healthy and constructive way is so important. In many daily blogs, I always add reminders about stopping and breathing. That gives you the time to think. About listening to criticisms without being reactive. Remember, criticism is critical thinking from another. Think of it as information. And with that information, you can decide whether it has validity or not. So always test your self-control. Avoid reacting impulsively or becoming overly sensitive to any perceived slights or disappointments that are happening. Remember, changing any self-perceptions along with those you have of others takes time and consistent effort. It's really important to approach this process of change with authenticity and a genuine desire to grow and improve. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself and others because change doesn't happen overnight. But you can focus on building healthier patterns of behavior and better communication every day, moment by moment. So it's important to remember that the concepts of being low maintenance or high maintenance, well, they are subjective and context dependent. Striving for a balanced approach in all of your communication efforts considers both personal needs and the needs of others. That's the ideal way to do it. It's essential to be self-aware, advocate for oneself when necessary, and find a healthy middle ground. A middle ground that promotes personal well-being while respecting the needs of others. I'm Dian Griesel. I'm also known as Silver Disobedience, and I'm the founder of Perception Dynamics. I am a perception analyst and a hypnotherapist by training, and I just want to thank you for tuning in and joining me. I hope you have a great day. Check back often, hit subscribe, and come visit.